Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Fireworks rain as Americans mark 247th U.S. Independence Day anniversary. The wave of mass shootings over the 4th of July highlights the challenges police face. A fiery plane crash in a South Carolina resort town killed all 5 people on board. U.S. judge bars Biden officials from contacting social media firms. Secondary test of powder found in West Wing lobby shows it's cocaine. Biden briefed on investigation. Help arrives to battle wildfire in Washington state near Columbia River Gorge. Bodies of 3 missing swimmers recovered from Minnesota River. Maryland panel okays $2.9 million compensation for wrongfully convicted man who has spent 32 years behind bars. July 3 was the hottest day ever recorded globally. Two months after Charles III's coronation, Scotland hosts its own event to honor the new monarch. Greta Thunberg charged with disobeying law enforcement during climate protest in Sweden. Ukraine-Russia accuse each other of planning to attack Europe's biggest nuclear plant. Canada allies take Iran to ICJ over downed jet. Hong Kong-born singer Coco Lee dies by suicide at age 48, her siblings say. Hot dog eating champ Joey Chestnut gobbles up new Nathan's title. And Djokovic celebrates 350th Grand Slam win at Wimbledon. You were listening to headlines, now news in detail. The United States celebrated its 247th day of independence amid pomp and display of fireworks. 13 American colonies got freedom from British rule on this day, which is known as Independence Day or the 4th of July. Fireworks remained at the center of American Independence Day, celebrated on 4 July. This day is imbued with patriotic sentiments and a moment to acknowledge the country's rich history and foundational beliefs. It has celebrated by organizing parades and barbecues. People wearing clothes and paint themselves in red, white, and blue color, which are the colors of the American flag. Fireworks shows were organized, which is in the history and tradition of the U.S. and are considered the most crucial part of the Independence Day celebration. The amazing fireworks in the cities of New York was like all over the sky, marking the joy of celebration of America's independence. On the historic day, U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris acknowledged the efforts of U.S. soldiers and military in safeguarding the nation. The nation commemorated the sacrifices of the revolutionaries who fought for independence from the British in 1776. Former President Barack Obama extended his wishes. Former President Donald Trump posted an emotional video wish on Instagram. Mass shootings broke out at festivals, block parties, and other gatherings in a handful of cities this week as the U.S. celebrated the 4th of July. Gun violence that flared in Washington, D.C., Louisiana, Florida, Philadelphia, Texas, and Baltimore left more than a dozen dead and almost 60 wounded, including children as young as 2 years old. In Shreveport, Louisiana, at least 3 people were killed and 10 others wounded late Tuesday night. Shreveport Police Sergeant Angie Wilhite said. One of the injured was in critical condition Wednesday, but the others were expected to survive, she said. No arrests have been made. We are struggling with getting information from those who were present. We are not getting a lot of cooperation, Wilhite said. Another body was found in the area Wednesday morning, Police Chief Wayne Smith said at a news conference. Chances are likely that it is a result of what occurred here last night, Smith said. The block party where the shooting took place has been held around the July 4th holiday for at least 10 years, said Shreveport City Councilwoman Tabitha Taylor, who represents the neighborhood. Independence Day celebrations in the nation's capital also turned violent when 9 people outside enjoying the festivities were shot and wounded early Wednesday, police said. 5 people are dead after a single-engine plane crashed over the weekend in a South Carolina coastal resort town. Officials said Sunday's ferry wreck near a golf course in North Myrtle Beach killed all 4 passengers and the pilot, the Myrtle Beach Sun News reported. The Monday update raised the death toll from initial reports that 1 person had passed. Tamara Williard, the chief deputy coroner for Horry County, told the newspaper that 1 person died shortly after being taken to a regional hospital while the others died at the crash. The identities of the victims and the cause of the plane's downfall remain undisclosed. Williard told the Post and Courier that officials are contacting next of kin as several of these individuals are related and families are from another country. A United States federal judge has blocked officials in the administration of President Joe Biden from contacting social media companies about content moderation. In a court filing on Tuesday, Judge Terry Doughty issued the injunction in response to a lawsuit brought by Republican attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri. They allege that the government went too far in its efforts to encourage social media platforms to address false information. Doughty wrote that the government's attempt to limit false claims related to elections and the COVID-19 pandemic arguably involves the most massive attack against free speech in United States history. A federal judge appointed by former President Donald Trump, Doughty had previously issued a ruling in January 2022 to block COVID-19 vaccination requirements for school teachers. He also barred mandatory vaccination requirements for healthcare workers, but that decision was largely overruled by the U.S. Supreme Court. His filing on Tuesday includes numerous references to conservative talking points. Nevertheless, Tuesday's injunction has been hailed as a victory for Republicans who argue that Biden, a Democrat, used the COVID-19 pandemic to police speech in the name of combating misinformation. A white powder discovered in a lobby area of the White House's West Wing that prompted a brief evacuation Sunday evening tested positive for cocaine in a laboratory analysis. 3 people familiar with the matter said Wednesday. Officials who found the powder in a small plastic envelope in the heavily trafficked part of the White House initially suspected illegal drugs, but they ran tests to ensure that the powder was not a more dangerous substance. Investigators have not yet identified who brought the cocaine into the White House, according to the 3 people who were not authorized to publicly discuss the inquiry and spoke on condition of anonymity. President Joe Biden was at Camp David with members of his family for the holiday weekend when the powder was discovered and the complex was briefly evacuated as a precaution. It's routine for emergency teams to quickly test a suspicious substance on the scene to determine whether it's hazardous and also to follow up with a more sensitive lab test later. The U.S. Secret Service, which is responsible for securing the White House, was taking the lead on the investigation, consulting visitor logs and security footage. Authorities have more than doubled the number of people battling a wildfire that has burned structures and forced the evacuation of homes in southwestern Washington near the Columbia River Gorge. The blaze that began Sunday in the unincorporated area of Underwood across from Hood River, Oregon, had burned about 546 acres and was 5% contained as of Wednesday, according to a post on an interagency Facebook page backed by the State Department of Natural Resources. Nearly 375 people are fighting the fire, with more on the way, including an elite firefighting crew to work in challenging terrain on the fire's western edge, according to the post. The National Weather Service's red flag warning remained for the area through 11 p.m. Wednesday, with hot, dry and unstable conditions that could cause the fire to spread rapidly. Fire activity increased Tuesday afternoon on the western edge of the fire, with helicopters and air tankers helping keep the blaze in check, officials said. Fire engine crews patrolled again overnight and tamed hotspots around the fire's perimeter. Evacuations remained in place Wednesday for an area affecting about 1,000 people, officials previously said. The Escamilla County Sheriff's Office said Sunday that several structures had been lost, but it didn't release further details. State Route 14 remained closed Wednesday between mile markers 56 to 65 because of fire activity. Smoke and firefighting aircraft are visible from Interstate 84 on the Oregon side of the river, officials said. The fire's cause remains under investigation. The bodies of 3 people who drowned in a Minnesota river were found by search crews Wednesday after going missing over the 4th of July weekend. The names of the 2 men and a girl have not been released. However, the Goodhue County Sheriff's Office says all 3 were from the same household in Oakdale, a suburb of St. Paul. The swimmers were part of a family gathering Monday night at Diamond Island on the Vermilion River, near the confluence with the Mississippi River, southeast of the Twin Cities. 2 bodies were found in the Mississippi at 6:53 a.m. and the third about 20 minutes later, Sheriff Marty Kelly said Wednesday. A man was fishing along the shore while 2 adults and the girl were swimming, according to the sheriff's office. All 3 swimmers began to struggle in the water and the man on the shore went in to help. He rescued an adult woman, then went back into the water to try and save the others. The sheriff's office said both men and the girl went under the water and never came back up. A Maryland board approved $2.9 million in compensation Wednesday for a man who was wrongly imprisoned for 32 years, including a decade on death row for 2 murders he did not commit. John Huffington was pardoned by former Governor Larry Hogan in January. The former governor cited prosecutorial misconduct in granting a full innocence pardon for Huffington in connection with the 1981 double slaying in Hertford County. On Wednesday, the Board of Public Works, comprised of Governor Wes Moore, Comptroller Brooke Learman, and Treasurer Derek Davis, approved the compensation package. He was robbed of time being spent away from family and loved ones, holidays, birthdays, missed milestones, opportunities denied, injustice, time and time again, Moore said in apologizing to Huffington, who attended the board meeting. Moore noted the work that Huffington has done to raise awareness about flaws in the criminal justice system through speeches and a book about his experiences. John has become a friend, Moore said. I am thankful not just because he is willing to share his story, but he has been willing to take his pain and turn it into service. The governor also noted that since his release, Huffington has worked as a manager at Second Chance, a non-profit that helps people with barriers to employment. He also worked in job training and re-entry programs at the Living Classrooms Foundation. He is now the Chief Operating Officer at the Kinetic Capital Community Foundation, which works to promote income equality in Baltimore. Huffington always maintained his innocence. He was released from Patuxent Institution in 2013 after serving 32 years of 2 life sentences. Now it's time for global updates. Monday, July 3 was the hottest day ever recorded globally, according to data from the United States National Centers for Environmental Prediction. The average global temperature reached 17.01 degrees Celsius, surpassing the August 2016 record of 16.92 degrees Celsius. As summer heats up across the northern hemisphere, authorities have reported an uptick in heat-related deaths as temperatures exceed 40 degrees Celsius in many places this summer. Currently, the highest officially registered temperature is 56.7 degrees Celsius, recorded in California's Death Valley back in 1913. The hottest known temperature in Africa is 55 Celsius, recorded in Kabylie, Tunisia in 1931. Iran holds the record for Asia's hottest official temperature of 54 Celsius, which it recorded in 2017. The highest temperature ever recorded in Europe was 48.8 Celsius on the Italian island of Sicily on August 11, 2021. On July 19, 2022, the United Kingdom recorded its highest ever temperature, reaching 40.2 Celsius according to its meteorological office. It was Scotland on parade. Bagpipes, kilts, drums, and a Shetland pony named Corporal Croghan IV marched down Edinburgh's Royal Mile on Wednesday to honour King Charles III. 2 months after his lavish coronation at Westminster Abbey in London, Scotland hosted its own event to mark the new monarch's accession to the throne. While Charles and Queen Camilla weren't crowned a second time, the new king was presented with the honours of Scotland, the crown, sceptre, and sword of state, items he received with reverence during a service at St. Giles Cathedral. The Stone of Destiny, an important symbol of Scottish identity, was also moved to the cathedral for the festivities. The presence of these icons of Scotland's nationhood is a mark of respect for a country that is fiercely proud of its history and where the desire of some for independence has never died, even though it has been bound to England and the United Kingdom since 1707. Scotland's national government is led by the Scottish National Party, which is calling for a second independence referendum. It's not a coronation, said George Gross, an expert in coronations at King's College London, but it's very symbolic in that Scotland has its own identity. Wednesday's events in Edinburgh were a continuation of Charles' effort to cement ties throughout the United Kingdom as he tries to show that the 1,000-year-old monarchy remains relevant in modern Britain. Soon after the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, last September, Charles visited Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales before attending the state funeral in London. Swedish prosecutors have charged climate activist Greta Thunberg with disobedience to law enforcement in connection with a protest in Malmö last month. Local newspaper Sydsvenskan reported Wednesday that Thunberg was detained with other activists after they stopped traffic in the oil terminal of the port in Malmö on June 19. A short statement by Swedish prosecutors on Wednesday said a young woman was charged with disobedience because she refused to comply with police orders to leave the scene during the protest. The statement didn't identify the woman, but Swedish prosecution authority spokesman Annika Collin confirmed that it was Thunberg. Sydsvenskan said the 20-year-old Swedish activist will be called to trial at the end of July. Prosecutor Charlotte Utzon told the paper that the crime of disobedience that the crime of disobedience is typically punishable with fines. Thunberg's media team didn't immediately answer a request for comment. Thunberg inspired a global youth movement demanding stronger efforts to fight climate change after staging weekly protests outside the Swedish parliament starting in 2018. Ukraine and Russia accused each other Wednesday of planning to attack one of the world's largest nuclear power plants, but neither side provided evidence to support their claims of an imminent threat to the facility in southeastern Ukraine that is occupied by Russian troops. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has been a focus of fear since Moscow's forces took control of it early in the war. Ever since then, Moscow and Kiev have traded blame for shelling the facility and accused each other of nuclear terrorism. Regular power outages resulting from shelling made it impossible to operate the plant safely, and its 6 reactors have been shut down to minimize the threat of a disaster. Over the last year, the UN's atomic watchdog repeatedly expressed alarm over the possibility of a radiation catastrophe like the one at Chernobyl after a reactor exploded in 1986. Ukraine has alleged more recently that Moscow might try to cause a deliberate leak in an attempt to derail Kiev's ongoing counteroffensive in the surrounding Zaporizhzhia region. Ukrainian authorities accused Russia of blowing up a dam in southern Ukraine last month with a similar aim, while Moscow blamed Ukraine for its destruction. Canada, Britain, Sweden, and Ukraine have taken Iran to the International Court of Justice to seek damages for families of passengers on a jetliner downed by Tehran in 2020, the tribunal said yesterday. The case at the UN's top court says Iran violated a series of obligations under a convention on civil aviation by shooting down Ukraine International Airlines flight PS-752 after takeoff from Tehran. All 176 people on board were killed. 3 days after the January 8, 2020 crash, Iran admitted that its military had targeted the Kiev-bound Boeing 737-800 plane by mistake. Canada, Britain, Sweden, and Ukraine, which had a number of citizens on board, said last month they would go to the Hague-based court to seek reparations on behalf of victims' families. Their filing at the tribunal says Iran breached a 1971 multilateral treaty on threats to civil aviation and that attempts to seek binding arbitration with Iran had failed. They asked the court to order full reparation for all injury caused and to make Iran pay full compensation to the applicants for the material and moral damages suffered by the victims and their families. Iran should also return the belongings of the victims and publicly acknowledge its internationally wrongful acts. Coco Lee, a Hong Kong-born singer and songwriter who had a highly successful career in Asia, has died by suicide, her siblings said Wednesday. She was 48. The star had been suffering from depression for several years, Lee's elder sisters Carol and Nancy Lee said in a statement posted on Facebook and Instagram, with her condition deteriorating drastically over the last few months. Although Coco sought professional help and did her best to fight depression, sadly that demon inside of her took the better of her, the statement read. Lee attempted suicide at home over the weekend and she was rushed to a hospital, her sister said. They said that she was in a coma and died on Wednesday. Lee, who was born in Hong Kong but later moved to the US, where she attended middle and high school, had a highly successful career in Asia as a pop singer in the 1990s and 2000s, where she was known for her powerful voice and live performances. Lee, who was initially a mandopop singer, branched out to release albums in Cantonese and English over her nearly 30-year career. She was the voice of heroine Fa Mulan in the Mandarin version of Disney's Mulan and also sang the Mandarin version of the movie's theme song, Reflection. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,835.53. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 82.97 points or 0.52%. Tokyo stock close price is 33,338.70. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 83.82 points or 0.25%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,222.95. The Shanghai index is decreased by 22.40 points or 0.69%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,110.38. The Hang Seng index is decreased by 305.30 points or 1.57%. Bombay stock close price is 65,446.04. The Sensex index is decreased by 33.01 points or 0.05%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Reigning champion Joey Chestnut has gobbled his way to another win at Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest in the United States, scoffing 62 Frankfurters in their buns in just 10 minutes. Chestnut outed runner-up Geoffrey Esper and an international field of 15 competitive eaters to clinch his 16th title after a 2-hour delay because of stormy weather. Esper managed to eat 49 hot dogs. What a roller coaster emotionally, said 39-year-old Chestnut, who began competing for the Nathan's title in 2005 and has not lost since 2015. His best performance was 2 years ago when he managed to consume 76 hot dogs, a world record. Chestnut said he was disappointed not to have managed more this time, but said he planned to push his body to new limits in the future. In the women's contest, defending champion and world record holder Miki Sudo ate 39 and a half hot dogs and buns to collect her 9th mustard belt. Novak Djokovic became only the 3rd player in history to win 350 Grand Slam singles matches after seeing off the challenge of Jordan Thompson at Wimbledon on Wednesday. The defending champion beat his unseeded Australian opponent 6-3, 7-6, 7-5 to reach the 3rd round, where he will meet Thomas Martin, Echeverry or Stan Wawrinka. Roger Federer and Serena Williams, both of whom retired last year, are the only players with more Grand Slam singles wins than Djokovic. A single break secured the first set for the Serbian second set, and he edged the second set tie-break to establish an iron grip on the match on center court. Thompson, ranked 17th in the world, remained steady on his serve in the 3rd set but eventually cracked in the 12th game when trailing 6-5. The 36-year-old Djokovic is targeting an 8th Wimbledon title, which would draw him level with Federer's men's record. He is also chasing a 24th career Grand Slam title, which would equal Margaret Court's all-time record. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago Video Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.